Okay, let's go ahead and get the committee meeting underway. I'm calling to order the Housing Planning and Development Committee meeting for tonight, May 15, 2023. I'd like to move that we approve the minutes of our committee meeting from April 17, 2023.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? Throw it open to council members present. Okay. Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And the ayes have it. Thank you. So tonight we have one proposed ordinance in front of us. Proposed ordinance 9-2023 to amend an ordinance to amend section 1173.01 Certificate of Code Compliance of the Lakewood Codified Ordinance to require inspection and certification of all properties formerly owner-occupied that become rental properties. And I believe the administration proposed it. Mr. Parmalee is not here, but sir, you're with the building department, I gather.
Yes, I am the backup CBO, William Wagner.
Mr. Wagner, thank you and welcome, and thanks for your assistance over the weekend or late last week on a couple of neighborhood quality matters. We appreciate the quick response. Council members, before we dive in, members of the committee or other colleagues, do you have any thoughts to open? Or we can hold council questions and comments till after the administration speaks. I do want to say I received one email correspondence from a Realtors Association asking about the ordinance, and we never connected. I'm going to check and see if I got a phone message, which I don't think I did. In general, the realtor profession over the years has expressed some preferences about point of sale when properties are transferred. Now, this ordinance does not propose any change to the point of sale requirements in Lakewood when it comes to property transfers, if I understand this correctly. I'm not, I approached the discussion with an open mind tonight. I want to learn and hear from colleagues, but if there's an opportunity for the realtors to speak up, we'd like to do that. I don't know that they're here tonight, though. But Mr. Wagner, or Mayor George, I should say, any opening comments or thoughts?
Yeah, thank you, Councilman. Yeah, the ordinance itself is fairly straightforward with the just change to adding any change to use of property from a former owner-occupied property to a rental property. So this is something that Commissioner Parmalee noticed and is being proactive that we should be inspecting these properties when they go from owner-occupied to rental.
Thank you, Mayor. And Mr. Wagner or Director Vargo, if you have any commentary, or Director Leininger for that matter. The floor is yours. Thanks.
Yeah, I think this stemmed more from the basic definition of a license is us handing them out without having any inspection to go along with it, as far as properties changing their designations.
Okay, so to explain it for the public and for the layperson, and to state clearly for the record, so our current process is we do not, unlike some of our peer cities, require point of sale inspection prior to a sale of a home or a residential property, except for the sale of rental property that is not owner-occupied, and that's been on the books for some decades, well before I can remember. I think back to the 80s or 90s or something like that.
Yeah, I'm not sure how far it was back, but I know that ever since I've been here, that's how it's been orchestrated and how it's been done. Usually, the housing license is obtained if the property is sold. It has been changed from point of sale to certificate of code compliance, I think about a year and a half ago or 2 years ago. So that's basically how we define that now.
Okay. Can you explain for the record what the difference is?
I just think it's a difference in the language of it. I know there was some problems, and this is before I got on or when I was just an inspector dealing with it. There was some cities that I think got into some legal problems with the point of sales. That's why they designated and changed ours over to the certificate of code compliance.
Okay, and the purpose is still, kind of from a common sense perspective, it's still, the concept is before a home gets sold, when it's unoccupied rent, non-owner occupied rental to a new owner, the city of Lakewood currently requires an inspection, and if the inspection turns up any need for
Yeah,
improvements, code compliance, then the city is going to require that to be met prior to
Yeah.
a sale being authorized.
Yeah, and that inspection is for occupant safety. I mean, that's the bare bones about it, is to say, hey, we're giving you this license and we're saying that you can bring some renters in here to occupy it and have it be safe for those, occupants to move in there. I mean,
Correct.
that's what it is.
So that's what's on the books. Now, today's proposal is not that. I'm just putting today's proposal in context. So today's proposal does not have to do with changing ownership or transferring the property, but instead the change in use from, I'm looking in the proposed language here, any change in use from of a property from an owner-occupied property to a rental property. Okay, so if I have a double and my family's living in both or sometimes all 3 units in a triple, but I'm not charging rent, then that's fully owner-occupied. If I then converted one of those units, but I still live in the property, this still would not apply to me. It's only if I leave the residence and convert all of the units into rental would this proposal apply. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay. And so what would happen, what's involved in the, what's involved in the certificate of code compliance in simple terms?
Just a general safety inspection. A lot of it has to, some of it, well, all of it falls under our property maintenance inspections. So anything that would normally, we would do from an aspect of property maintenance as far as the exterior, keeping up with the exterior of the building. Interior is basically just maintaining appliances is, sorry, when I say that, I mean like making sure your furnace is acting, is installed and working as it was installed, and hot water tanks and things of that nature. I mean, there is a lot to go through it. If I'd go through it, I don't particularly have a mind to run through the whole list.
Okay, but if I were to do this hypothetically, and the building inspector comes over, they're going to do both exterior and interior in this case. And if I have some obviously out of compliant problem with my electricity or plumbing, that'll get noticed. But it sounds as if the practice by the building department currently is to pay special attention to carbon monoxide risk from the HVAC system and the water heater.
Yeah, there kind of is an emphasis on first the life safety issues. So yeah, that would be correct. That's where you want to go first because that is the primary reason for them. And then from then it's kind of all the maintenance issues. So your carbon dioxide, your smoke detectors, or carbon monoxide smoke detectors, handrails in the stairwells, making sure all your outlets are working correctly. Yeah, that's. I mean, I could go on for a long time. I'm not
Very
sure
good.
what would be.
And then once that is, let's say there's some things to fix, I fix them, then I can come back to the city and apply for a housing license, essentially, which is a certificate that allows me to become a residential landlord. Is that right?
That is correct. I think there is still a requirement for the landlord training. we're not giving out occupancy permits because I don't want to know if I should get into that subject, but yeah, the purpose of it is to basically get permission to have renters in the building.
Okay,
Yeah.
super. All right. Let me open it up to other colleagues. Any questions, discussion? Councilwoman Keppel.
Thank you, and thanks for being here. It does seem pretty straightforward. We just like to make sure that people understand what's going on in the public. And I guess my only question, well, a couple actually. So obviously we want to protect renters, coming into these properties. I see a lot of times on, I get tagged a lot in social media where people have rental issues and they, don't know what to do. So we do certainly see this issue come up. What is the time turnaround for someone, like if they need to have this inspection from when they would decide they want to switch their home from an owner-occupied property to a rental property? They would contact the building department. About how long would that take before they would get that?
After they get the inspection, it's typically done within that week or the next week. So I would say anywhere between 5 to 7 days, they would get that inspection, and then another one, usually the day or the day after that inspection to get their report. Yeah.
And are you seeing a lot of these? Do you know if there's a lot? Is this happening more where people are moving from, owner-occupied to rental property? It's okay if you don't know. I know you're filling in today.
I would say that in this particular instance, we don't know because there's not a requirement to let us know.
I see.
And then that's when we get into phone calls from a realtor or something that said, hey, this condo or this double or this condo or double has been a rental, and they've been renting it for 2 years. The owner used to live in it, and now they want to sell it. Do you require a certificate of code compliance inspection? And the answer is no, because it was never identified as a rental, and they never had to obtain a housing license from us because they never told us that they moved out of it.
Got it. And then this is maybe a question for Director Vargo or whoever has the information, but would this apply to people if they were using a home, they turned it into an Airbnb or that kind of a situation?
Well, thank you, Councilwoman. The direct answer is I'm thinking about it for the first time. So with all those reservations, I don't know officially. However, just applying what we heard from Mr. Wagner, if in fact the owner is not occupying at all and it is being leased on a short-term basis to different individuals, I think as a matter of theory it would apply, applying that judgment.
Great, thank you. Because I know that's been a concern too for folks with the rising cost of housing, is if we see more turning into Airbnbs, and we also want them, if the owner isn't living there, it's one thing if they're renting it out for a weekend while they're away, but if they're using it fully as a rental property, it would seem to me that it would apply to. Yeah. Okay, I think that's all I have.
Very good. Thanks, Councilwoman. Mr. Shackner, anything? Okay, Councilwoman. Okay, Councilwoman Marks, thanks.
Thank you. If I understand correctly, if someone turns their primary residence they move out and turn it into a rental, right now they don't have to notify you, right? They don't notify the city that that's happening, so there's no recourse the city has as far as inspection, right? So if they move out and decide to rent it to somebody, how would the city know?
Well, they would have to obtain a housing license as it is right now, but they would not have to have an inspection.
But if this ordinance passes, they would, correct?
That is correct.
Yes. Okay, good. Clarification. Thank you.
Councilman Baker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Wagner, for taking your time and being here tonight. So I think it's a couple $100 is what a housing license costs. Is there a cost associated with obtaining a certificate of code compliance?
Yes, right now there is I may be mistaken, but I think a $75 fee for a code compliance inspection.
And that's basically done once per owner. So if you buy a rental property or transfer your property into a rental after you move out, you would get a certificate of code compliance. I'm just trying to go through like what a landlord or something would have to do. It's $75 to get if this is passed, right? So you move out, you have your house as a rental, you pay $75 for a certificate of code compliance, and then every year or two you have to get an updated housing license?
Housing license are required every year.
Every year, okay. And then when would, as part of the housing license renewal process, is there another inspection every year, or is that just?
No, there's not.
So then it wouldn't be inspected again until either the use changed or the property owner sold the rental?
No, most of our rental properties, and again, we're getting this more down to a schedule, should be on a 3-year loop, I think is what it is, to where they would have a property maintenance inspection.
So that would be a condition to their housing license?
I don't think so. That's listed as a condition to their housing license as of right now, no.
So what happens if they fail? This may be going far afield. I'm just curious.
If they would fail that, depending on if it's a serious hazard or not, it may just be, because there could be lots of things. I mean, it's not a pass-fail thing. It's a hey, your second floor railing is coming loose. It's falling off. We think this is a hazard, or your siding is coming off or something like that. You know, you have to fix this. Here's a, correction notice. Here's 30 days. Get this fixed. That is not really, that's just part of regular safety and maintenance.
So it's more so something that would be like something that the housing court or some sort of mediation would handle before it got to housing court, but it's not really, but the ultimate penalty could be revocation of rental license, but likely usually doesn't get that.
I would think that would be not left up to us. I think that it would have to be probably left up to the court.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Baker. Councilman Schachner.
Rader, that's all good.
Councilman Rader.
Unless you want to, okay. Thank you, that's an honor. So I appreciate it. This is a good ordinance. I think it's something I certainly support. One question I did have for Mr. Parmalee, he mostly answered it. We went through this process of setting up this rotation schedule a couple of years ago when I first started on council, and a big part of that conversation was just the capacity, the ability to work through these permit inspections in order to get the permit. Give me a sense like how this changes workflow, workload in terms of getting more inspectors out there doing another round of inspections. Do you anticipate a big influx in the beginning? Do you anticipate that this will be kind of an even, steady flow that'll just kind of get meshed in with the work you do and not really impact workload? Give me a sense.
Chris and I talked about it, and we would guess probably in the beginning there would be a little bit of a work rush on it for people that currently are renting their properties that may not have that housing license where this would, generally affect them. But we figured out it may be 100 extra inspections a year at the most. So as far as our workflow would go, I don't think it would have minimal impact to what we're doing now.
Good. And I think it's, again, fully supported, good benefit, protecting renters. I think that's really the crux of this. And again, commend you for the effort. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rader. Good heavens. So I guess to the administration, so it would be effective and apply to all properties that fit this status, no grandfathering in? Or would it be rather that when a housing license must be obtained, which is on a periodic renewal basis, the property owner has to come into compliance with the city's requirements at that time, correct? So, so that may be a regular check-in, for lack of a better term, between the property owner and the city.
So I guess I'm not understanding the question.
If I didn't report to the city any of my practices and I converted my formerly owner-occupied unit, condo or home, now it's rental, and maybe I haven't even gotten a housing license, and the city eventually finds out, and not only have I not gotten, now I'm getting a housing license, but this change in status happened prior to this potentially becoming law, right? Do I have to come into compliance with this new proposed section or not?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, very good. Well, we're almost out of time. I mean, I appreciate the proactive nature and the continuous improvement, shall we say, the Lean Six Sigma, you know, attention to detail. Because if we're seeing this as a emerging pattern, and often our homes, even though we've experienced rising prices for the residential and even commercial market, especially really both, it doesn't magically catch up deferred maintenance on a given property. You know, when I first started serving, that was a major concern. I think it probably still is, that we've got 100-year-old structures, and there's a lot of work that needs to be done. And so the difference with the changing market is that maybe people have an easier time getting financing to do that work, but it still needs to be done. And so I certainly support the building department's role in ensuring consistent quality. I guess what I'd like to do is entertain a motion to recommend adoption to the full council, but maybe when we talk again next, we could get a little more color about the numbers, even if it's anecdotal. I know we don't have a consistent survey to say there's X number of properties, because it's the opposite of reporting. But, you know, have there been a series of complaints that have prompted this? Are we talking a handful or dozens or what? You know, it would be just good to characterize what we're experiencing when we discuss this in the full council, I would think. And I guess the last question is, this would apply to commercial properties too, correct? Or is the way that this is drafted in the code really contemplating only residential? I know there's commercial residential, which is defined, I think, as 4 suiters and above. But what if I'm a storefront on Madison, there's retail on the ground floor, there's some rental above? I guess that doesn't meet owner-occupied definition anyway, under most circumstances.
That is correct.
So this would apply really to the residential property market, really?
Yes, yeah, residential,
Okay.
then you have your high-rise condos, which a lot of those are rented out, and
Okay.
similar occupancies.
Yeah, all right, so there might be a very rare edge case where maybe a commercial building owner was living in his or her own building, and then they move out. But those are typically larger buildings that, I don't know if we inspected those in a more consistent and
Those
frequent
are,
manner.
I'm not sure if you're talking about like a mixed-use building.
Yeah,
You know,
mixed-use
it's where you
building,
have
right.
your storefronts and your apartments above.
Right.
I don't think I've ever seen an instance where an owner has occupied one of those. I may be mistaken in that.
And how about the non-mixed use ones where you'll have like a 16-suiter, or, you know, there's all kinds of apartment buildings all over Lakewood?
I don't think I've ever seen that.
Okay, I'm just being thorough.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a foolish question. Okay. Would you like to make a motion?
I'll move to refer favorably out of committee to full council.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. That concludes our business, and without objection, the Housing Committee is adjourned.